Hey guys, and welcome to another Schematics update. This time we want to talk about Phantom Doctrine, and I have Blind with me. Hey.
Hello.
So Phantom Doctrine is the new game of Creative Forge Games, the makers of Hard West. I haven't played Hard West, but you did.
Hard West was a Wild West tactics game in the vein of games like XCOM, and it was a game that I very, very much enjoyed. There was a few mechanics in it that were a little bit cumbersome, if not a little bit difficult to mess with, but overall it was a fantastic mix of vampires and cowboys, and it was a whole lot of fun.
And Phantom Doctrine is in the same subgenre.
Yeah, so Phantom Doctrine takes place in the year 1983, in the middle of the Cold War, and it is a XCOM style strategy game, like even more in the XCOM style than Hard West was. You can definitely tell where they're getting their inspirations, which isn't a bad thing. We're in a space right now where XCOM exists and people want more games that aren't just doing exactly what XCOM is doing. So this is kind of taking that mold, putting a different spin on it, adding some new mechanics, changing the way combat works, and overall, it's been a lot of fun to mess around with for the past few days since we got code.
The thing I kind of like more than I liked in XCOM, it's more realistic, and it has a tone to it, obviously because it's realistic, that is way more depressing. It's not a depressing game, as far as I can tell, but the feel.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's a Cold War setting, so you're going to have that kind of grit, right?
Yeah.
Which leads into how beautiful the game looks. Like, it is gritty, it is messy, it is dirty, it is bloody, but damn, it has style. Like, this thing fell right out of a awesome spy movie. Like, I love the way this game looks, especially the fact, like you were saying, that it's dark, right? It's not nearly as dark when your guy is a white dude with a blonde afro wearing a tuxedo. Significantly less dark. So when I was playing through, like, obviously there's a character creator and you can make your main spy look as silly as you would like. And I fully abused that. And I suggest you do as well, because it's quite entertaining.
That's quite funny, because I went straight into the topic and I had a dude with worn jeans with like a vest and lumberjack shirt and a beanie and a cigarette in the mouth, tattooed all over, so I went full on spy.
My guy fell out of a Johnny English knockoff. It's amazing every single time he hops out of the minivan.
I imagine that. Okay, let's talk about the game itself a little bit more. As you mentioned already, it plays in the Cold War, and obviously the Cold War was the United States and the West and Soviet Union and the East. You can pick side in the beginning. You can play on the side of the CIA and on the side of the KGB and the third party that isn't unlocked in the beginning, and it doesn't tell you what it is. You need to play through the game at least once to unlock it, and we have currently no clue what it is, because this game's quite big and we didn't have the time to play it that much.
We got keys for the game about 48 hours ago. The different sides do change the game. The story changes depending on which side you play. A lot of this seems to be focused on replayability, which I think is a massive positive towards the game.
Do we want to dive a little bit more into what's different?
Yeah.
You start the game with a tutorial mission, which plays on the Berlin border. You can see the DDR, or for English speaker GDR tag on above the border, and it tells you the basics of the game, obviously. And this mission is the same for both sides, but after that it gives you a little bit of a different story mission. I have no clue how long it will be different, but at least the first mission is different. As CIA, you start investigating the Iranian nuclear program, right?
It's almost like a second tutorial level, the second mission that it boots you into. You get a cutscene, and then you move in and you are investigating the Iranian nuclear program. There's some sassy dialogue between the spies. It's straight out of a spy movie. It's kind of great, actually. I really like the writing between the spies. It makes me smile. Then you kind of have a decent little mission to kind of explore all of the game's mechanics. You get to try out some stealth. You can go loud if you want. You can finish the entire mission silently without firing a single bullet if you want. And there's some loot and stuff to gather within the level itself. and some intel.
Exactly, and the KGB side is you don't investigate the Iranian nuclear program, but a person is kidnapped and you need to go in and get him out of there. You grab some intels you can find at the complex and then you need to get out. So you have, at least from the beginning, different sides. And what I really liked is, like, when you play the KGB is the voices are in Russian, so you have subtitles for everything they say, which is kind of funny. I didn't know that. I was kind of thinking, yeah, they talk English all the time.
Yeah, that's a nice little touch. You know, the studio is from Poland. You're not going to have the kind of American development ideals where everything's just in English and then they just give them phony accents, which, you know, it's nice to see that. I really like that a lot. With the opening mission, you kind of get a taste of the gameplay. So let's talk about how this differs from a lot of these other games in this style. You have to move your base around when you get detected. So there are threat levels. And the way that the threat levels work is, as events pop up on the map, you will slowly get detected and danger levels will rise. If they get too high, you're going to have to pick up and move your base, which costs a lot of money. This can be mitigated by sending out spies and investigating the different events, which can cause strategy missions to happen, where you have to actually go in and assassinate a spy who is keeping an eye on you, or maybe a small group of people, or go kidnap somebody. There's various different things that it's going to throw at you at that point. And while you're going around, I mentioned that you'll be gathering intel. These intels are used as part of a mini game, which is investigations, which I kind of love.
Yeah, me too.
It's pretty simple, actually. You get a little piece of paper, and you can either read them or just kind of mouse over them in almost a Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego style and just randomly click on stuff. But if you read it, it gives you little bits of flavor text about what's going on, and you find keywords within the messages, and the keywords pop up on the top right, and then you can connect them together to kind of make a wireframe who've done it panel on the board, and eventually you kind of figure out the puzzle and you connect the dots, and then you get intel on for another mission. And I really like how that system works.
It's a really nice touch. Like, it's all day work of a spy back then, and that's wonderfully reflected in the gameplay here. As you said, you have your base, and in your base it's pretty similar to every other game in the genre. You have like your infirmary, and you have your workshop where you craft items and stuff like that. No world map, obviously. So that's similar, but another thing that I noticed, and it's kind of in between base gameplay and combat, which is the topic after this one, the levels are randomized. So if you reload, like just before you hop into the mission and start the mission, it gives you another level or another map. So that's quite interesting. You can't cheat the system here.
Even though you could cheat the system, I think it's kind of on the player there to just, you know, play with what you got, right?
Well, I mean, I tried because, as I told you before we start recording, that I needed for basically the second mission a lockpick. And I crafted a lockpick, but I totally forgot to equip an agent with a lockpick. And in the level, I realized, oh shit, I need this to shut down the power generator for surveillance cameras to get through the level quietly without any backup from the enemy side. So I was thinking, you're smart, just reload, equip the lockpick, and then it gave me a total different map. Not just that it's randomized like the layout, but it was completely different location. And I tried that for like 10 times and I never got back the map I had in the beginning.
Definitely points for replayability.
Yeah.
So in gameplay, we got combat here, okay? Because that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the game that we're talking about here. There are no percentage chance to hit in this game. So you're not going to have the XCOM moment of it's a 96% hit chance if you miss. Now just bear with me for a second. The way combat works in this game, there is an awareness level. Now awareness is based on whether or not you just moved, what the character can see, whether or not they could see you before the turn started. A lot of factors go into this. Then you have a gun, which deals in a specific amount of damage depending on their awareness. Then they get shot, and then they will dodge depending on how aware of you they are. So if you're following, you could have bullets graze, you can have bullets direct hit and do a lot of damage, you can have bullets not miss entirely but do minimal damage in cases where they are fully aware of you. What do you think of this system?
I mean, obviously I can't review the system entirely because I haven't played around that much, but
first impressions kind of, because so far far, I think it's an interesting system. I haven't played a game with a system like this before, and it's been fun to kind of test it and see how it works.
I was trying to say it's just another thing that's realistic in a game. Like, if you know as an agent where the other agent is, you're probably more likely to see and hit them than if you're surprised by its presence, right? So they go full in on the theme, and I really like that. Also, I mean, we all know that you're standing in front of an enemy in XCOM and you have like a melee attack with 99% hit chance and you miss, and that's happening like 5 times in a row and you're about to rage quit.
That won't happen here.
I think there's nothing worse, and that won't happen here. So I liked that, yeah.
Because if you have a 100% of awareness of them and you're right on top of them, you're going to hit them. But that also goes for them too. So if they get right up on top of you, you're going down. And you're going down fast. It happened to me once. I decided to go full aggressive in one of the starting missions and failed out right away because they walked right up to me and shot me in the face.
Focus is on stealth, you say?
Yeah, because you are delicate and you can go down quickly, there is a very large focus on avoiding the enemy alongside of killing them, but the way you do that isn't the way you do that in other games like this. As we were talking about before we started recording, the way Overwatch works, it's not like in XCOM where, which is starting to sound like a broken record, I'm saying XCOM a lot here. It's not like in XCOM where it's a 360-degree view. You have to target it in a specific angle, which it's really interesting because you have to kind of know already where the enemies are going to be coming from, so you can predict that. The game also gives you a lot of abilities to have a very good awareness of your surroundings and where everybody is. It is more of a stealth game than a combat game. Even though there is combat in it, I really like the focus on stealth, at least initially at the beginning of a level.
Let's move on to our last topic, which is, well, less about the game mechanics, but more about the game itself and performance and other things that might be interesting for potential buyers. So let's start with graphical and sound options, and I think you're the one to rant here, or not rant.
Not necessarily rant. The graphics options are fine. There's a very good selection of options, lots of stuff to click on and dials to twiddle. I just want to say thank you very much for not having FXAA. It's my least favorite type of anti-aliasing. It just looks like you put snot all over my screen, which is great. They've got TXAA, which is much better. They also have separate audio sliders for sound options. The borderless windowed mode is very strange. As you just highlighted here in this document. The borderless windowed mode is very odd. Number one, it kind of puts this weird icon in the bottom of the screen that I've never seen before in a borderless window. Also, if I mouse out and click on another window, it makes the game mute. I really wish that there was an option to stop that from happening. Just as a content creator and as somebody who has 2 monitors, it's just annoying when the audio cuts out. And one thing that we haven't mentioned earlier is the turn times do seem rather long, especially on the AI turns. However, there is an option to accelerate move speed, which is good. Thumbs up.
I fully agree with everything you just said. And I hope they will fix at least the sound cutting out when alt tapping, because as a streamer, that's the most annoying thing. Because everybody knows when you're streaming that you're just...
Check Twitter. Blind, stop reading Reddit!
So... thanks a lot for listening, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, let us know in the comment section. And if you like this video, thumb it up. If you really like the video and want to go even one step further, you may want to consider heading over to Coffee and buy the editor, in this case me, a coffee, so I can edit the next video overnight so you can watch it right in time before the game is released.
Leave a comment telling Adfo how awesome his voice is.
or not. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for listening again. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.